Welcome to this video conversation with Joan and Tomas Hartfield. I'm so excited to be back with them again. And here we are recording this on the day of the Virgo full moon. And the moon is with a star in the constellation of Draco the dragon called Thuban. And Thuban was the pole star about 5,000 years ago, but it brings our attention to the dragon energy. And we just entered the year of the dragon at the new moon in February of 2024. Now we're here at the full moon of February 2024, and that dragon energy is still so present. It's just blowing my mind. And then the other thing that's going on and that is inspiring what we're going to share today is that Venus and Mars have been very close together in the morning sky. I've been trying to see them. I can see Venus. I know Mars is right there, but Venus is outshining Mars so much that I haven't been able to spot Mars with her without binoculars or something. But anyway, but they're in Aquarius. And so the sacred feminine, sacred masculine coming together in Aquarius is expanding our vision and how they relate to one another. And then the Virgo full moon is also helping us to see how are we honoring relationship as a sacred experience and honoring each other and in that sacred ceremonial way. So I know you have some really brilliant things to share about that. So I'm going to pass this along and so excited that we get to do it at this time.
Yay. Well, let's do it then.
Oh, me too, Kaylin. Well, we love being here with you, and it's always so much fun, and it inspires a lot of communication with us around astrology and what's happening in the sky, which of course we're always learning more and more about. But we also feel very much that relationship is a path to God, or a path to the divine, a path to more inspiration. And, you know, we really enjoy being able to support others in that same way. And so here we are with the high priest and high priestess, the Virgo high priest and high priestess, you know, on this beautiful full moon day. And we're really wanting to share some things that around that we hope will inspire this audience to really enjoy being in whatever relationships you are. It doesn't have to just be a love relationship, but it could be any kind of relationship that you just want to make better.
Yeah, so we want to, I guess we just take a look at how we open up to these, I call them frequencies, really, these energetics that have a stabilizing influence that keeps the curiosity alive, if you will, of what's possible. I remember an interview I did a while back where someone asked me what it was about Joan that keeps me going, and what it is I'm perpetually fascinated by her. You know, she fascinated you know, there are certain parts of Joan that are predictable, you know, and these are the parts that actually stabilize our marriage. The predictable things, you know, that I can count on Joan to hold a certain quality of energy if I'm needing to talk to her. I mean, when Joan puts her attention on you, you're the only person in the world, you know, and that just brings in this clarity where I can really speak my heart, whatever it is I want to share. So
and that kind of transmission of really being open to whoever you're with, you know, the partnership that you happen to be in that moment, to really focus there and to be completely open to what is it that they have to say. So we wanted to kind of look today at these, what we call the 4 rivers of life, which Angeles Arian wrote about. And we really love using these 4 rivers because they give us a way to look at relationship. And so you want to talk about the first river, the river of inspiration?
Oh yeah, the first one is lovely, is because it's all about inspiration. And you know, what we want to look at is what we bring in terms of what I bring. Does this inspire you? Do I bring, you know, a sense of myself that puts you in touch with the wonder of how we navigate life? And so these inspirational elements, you know, this is really important because if it inspires, if I'm inspired, and I think we get this from men a lot, and it may have even been in a movie somewhere where this man said to the woman, "You inspire me to be a better man." You know, there's something in the energetic that that takes us into the evaluation of how we show up, you know. And I think when we get inspired by love, or we get inspired by someone that really values us and sees us, well, that makes us want to show up in a fuller way.
Absolutely.
And then, yeah,
and inspiration too. I mean, I have to be inspired in order to inspire him. You know, if I'm like, duh, you know, then I'm not going to be in that creativity that needs to be in a relationship. Because I think, you know, we're always making it up as we go along. Like, how do we want our relationship to be? You know, let's be inspired to find out, and to even have those conversations about, how do I inspire you? You know, tell me, you know, and what would you like more of? You know, because the more that we can have that, and I'm sure you know, I mean, you were telling us about how you feel inspired every morning with your beloved.
Yeah, Peter will come in and say to me, how can I help you have a better day today? Or what can I do to make this a better day for you today? Or some kind of version of that question. And sometimes I'm just like, well, you just did. Just by asking me that question, like, oh my God, that's so good. And to feel that I'm that important to him. And then, of course, I will often ask him the question back as well. And then we inspire each other that way. And to keep expanding, I feel like the, you know, Venus and Mars and Aquarius together is to keep expanding our vision of what it is that how we are in relationship, and through inspiration. Like, if we're inspired, it's going to be a fun expansion of that vision. If it's not, oh, well, that might, you know, then there might be something that needs to be attended to heal or to work on or something. Yeah.
Yeah. People have so many different ways of living life. And I think in this inspiration piece, I think when we keep our hearts open and taking a look at all the things that both of us, the male and the female, do in relationship that keep it going, that it's so easy to take these things for granted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the people that are working 2 or 3 jobs, especially on Maui, to stay here. Every day, these people have to get up and battle life and keep their energy alive, and put out so much energy just to exist sometimes.
Unfortunately, at least there's a lot of things that can inspire us here, because you can go jump
Yes.
in the ocean or in a waterfall.
But what I'm wanting to speak to is the consistency that a well-functioning couple functions under.
Yeah.
The consistent things that they do are inspirational. All of the ways we put our life energy into sometimes it's just mundane things, but when you add them all up, the confluence of all these things, it's inspiring to see what we do to keep a relationship going and to do our part.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. I love it.
Just saying. And then the challenge piece, we want to look at, when we cross this river of challenge, this is where things can get really dicey, because I want to challenge you in a way that works for you, because I know who you are, I know what your capacity is, and I get delighted when I see you showing up in the ways that you do. So, and if you're not, you know, I know what your capacity is, but I don't want to dim your light in any way. I want to invite you into more of your capacity.
Yeah, and I think that's really the whole thing with the challenges, that we want to be able to find a way to share the things that don't quite work for us, because we're always going to bump up against something at some point in our relationship. And if I can find a way to communicate that in a way that doesn't undermine you or belittle you or make you wrong or bad, you know, but just really, again, states my needs, that, you know, in a way that is inviting. I mean, I think to me, it feels like what I've learned over the years is to actually challenge in a way that is more of an invitation, because, you know, I know that I want to be the best version of myself that I can be. So when I feel challenged in a relationship, it helps me to level up, right? And I want to be able to invite him to level up in places that he needs to, you know, if that's going to make our relationship stronger. And again, if we're using this as a path to the divine, or a path to our evolution, then we have to be challenged at some times, you know, because otherwise we just stay the same.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that you said invite too, because one of the things I started saying to Peter years ago was I would invite him to consider that his point of view might be somewhat limited about a certain situation.
That's
And he loved that because he would sit and consider that, and he's like, "You're right. I could have a bigger perspective on this. I don't maybe I'm looking at this in too small of a narrow way." That kind of thing. And having been in relationships where I was expected to be a certain way and it felt like it was limiting who I was and not feeling like I was being supported in being who I am. So I just love how you explained that piece too, because how do we engage in relationship with a beloved other, whether it's a partner or a coworker or a friend or family member or whoever it might be, in a way that it supports people in being who they are, and not limiting them to something that we want them to be, or we think they should be, or maybe we're not even aware that we're doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I just consider, because you use the word consider, and I know that consider with consider the stars. So to consider something is to actually be with the stars, and that brings us back to the astrology piece, to that how much it has helped us understand each other and be able to be more considerate of each other, understanding the challenges that even our astrology really points out beautifully.
Yeah.
So good.
To our dreams and visions, the piece that I'm always amazed at is whenever Joan and I dream and vision, there's like a level of attention that comes in that really does expand our experience of life and gives us a kind of a track to run on. Because if we don't have any dreams and visions, the moments are wonderful, but if we don't have a sense of going somewhere together and emptying the contents of these visions so that we can participate in them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of brings us to the next one, which is the next river of life, which is the river of delight and surprise. Because when we are in this visioning process, we recognize that we're, there's something, we are evoluting, as one of my friends likes to say. And so if we can do that consciously and with an intention, then we can, I'm always delighted and surprised by what happens just when we have something that we're kind of like looking at, that dream or vision, and we get excited about it, because when we get excited about it, then it motivates all that energy, brings all that energy to go forward into our life in a beautiful way.
Yeah, this delighting is a spontaneous thing, right? When we get surprised, and there's something about that energy that to have a day without some kind of surprise in it, it's a great day. We need to have spontaneous, invigorating things that happen, even if it's, I know you like flowers, and we grow flowers all over the place here, and Joni's always taking orchids and bringing them in, and it's just this wonderful, delightful kind of energy that is kind of your signature that I really cherish in the home.
Thank you. And also, I think it's good for us to be able to ask our partners, how do I delight you? How have I delighted you? What could I do now to delight you more? Because that's that also continual desire to want to bring the best of ourselves to one another. And I'm sure you.
Yeah, so I'm also thinking that because one of the things that Peter and I do is talk about how each other delights each other. Like I tell him how he delights me, he tells me how I delight him. So we're not even asking necessarily, we're just saying, you delight me by blah, 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 right? You're oh my God, I'm so delighted by this, or whatever that is about. It's such a great place to live. And some years ago, somebody said, I'm excited and delighted. I was like, ooh, I like how that rhymes, excited and delighted, because if we're delighted, we're probably excited. And then that just feeds the relationship in such a beautiful way. I love what you're sharing here.
Yeah. And then from the delight and all this surprise, then we go to the next level of this kind of idea, which is that capacity to touch and be deeply touched. And that's where we need even deeper levels of safety, because we need to create the environment, the same as we would like in a flower leaning towards the light, right? these subtle things that touch us and take us into the deepening of the mystery of life is where our spiritual integrity of our relationship actually starts to grow naturally, because we want to keep our awareness into these places that really kind of fluff us up inside, that kind of lift us into this love affair with the mystery, if you will, of life.
Yeah. There's always so much that, I think that's one of the things as counselors, we come up against a lot, and that is that people want to go deeper. That's what we hear a lot, is they want to go deeper in their relationships. They yearn for that. They long for that. And so if we can also find out, how have I deeply touched you? How can I touch your heart even more? What do you need in order to feel safe?
Yeah, it's so vulnerable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
To open ourselves to these deep, vulnerable places, because once we do that, that's maximum risk with another person. And then we have a bond in that risk, because I'm opening my most sacred, precious longings and dreams to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we really have to have 100% safety. And the more safety that we offer, and the more we can hold these longings as the reflection I'm needing. This is what keeps me fascinated. When I feel into your longings, this is like this gold for us, especially anyone that's living a life where we have to create. And Joan and I have to create every week with our classes, and we're always creating. And so if we don't have this longing in this sacred respect for this deeply touched place that is where our soul actually comes forth into our life, that's where we want to operate.
Yeah.
That is so beautiful. I'm also thinking, as you were mentioning earlier, when we understand what a person's relationship intent, their soul's desire for a relationship intent, and also what they might be projecting onto somebody else. And one of the things that I very much appreciate in my relationship is that I don't like being told what to do. I've had partners who've tried to tell me what to do, and I really don't like it. I might do it. I might want to do it, but I don't want you to tell me I have to do it, kind of thing. So that's just a piece for me. But to go into those deeper places and to really honor one another and do it in a sacred ceremonial way, and to find a way to do that ideally daily, which is what it feels like you're speaking into. And that's really what the Virgo mysteries, the Virgo full moon would say, is how do you create it in a sacred way and every day, so that it's every day you're honoring your relationship as a sacred expression of who you are and who you're becoming and where you're growing and evolving into. So just really loving what you're saying and wondering if you have anything to add to that.
Well, it's extreme vulnerability to be able to do that. It's extreme, feeling into the purity of Virgo, that's where the power lives, really, is in that undefended place that this is my dream. This is the expansion of this unformed part of myself seeking expression in form.
And also there's something about the creating the container, because I always think of Virgo as creating the container, creating the sacred container, creating the temple, creating a place that feels really just that it feels really wonderful to come into. So that kind of brings me also to feng shui, and to really looking at, how we create our temple. And we also, when temple consciousness was something that came in a long time ago for us. And so literally creating the quality of energy in our home, in our places that we work, that really gives us that sense of, I'm being nurtured, I'm being cared for, in that way, and I'm also honoring the divine by creating this. It's, creating this temple, creating the altars.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think that having ways of creating the space and also speaking to one another and with intention and attention to what it is that you're co-creating together, and taking the time to actually figure what that might be for each person in the relationship is
Yeah.
so powerful. And then you build a base and you just go from there. Yeah, beautiful. So anything you want to say to wrap this up in terms of what we've been talking about?
Well, I'm always dialoguing with the mystery of what is wanting to come through, and doing my best to honor it in terms of the way I keep my mind as clear as possible, so that these creative energies, I think it is, when you get right down to it, it's the creation of our relationship that is always going on. And so
Yeah.
this whole idea of foreplay is happening on so many different levels, that we're always feeding each other impulses and awarenesses and invitations that either open the heart or do nothing or even close it. And so I think focusing on keeping that vitality of life alive and being able to utilize, the seasons and the all of these astrological gifts that add just a little bit more spice and power. All we need to do is to migrate into the focus of what is the area that I really want more of. I want more symmetry. I want more engagement. And then just giving a little bit of energy to that magically brings the frequency of our relationship to a higher level.
Beautiful.
I just really appreciate you so much, Kaylin, in terms of how you also are so committed to bringing these sacred mysteries of astrology to people, to not only help them understand themselves but to really help them with their relationships, because I know that has been such a game changer for us when we started really, looking at our astrology and, with the places that were really easy to communicate and connect with, and the places that weren't. It was so helpful to understand, and to understand him more, for him to understand me more, rather than kind of point at those things as like something wrong with the other person, which I see a lot of people, have a tendency to do. So thank you for bringing more of this awareness to all of us.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, that when we understand that people are just being who they are, and they're not trying to be something to upset us, or, and sometimes we can't really be in a deep, authentic relationship with somebody because of where they're at or where we're at. And that's okay. But then when you can find the person that you can have that with, it's just the greatest magic possible. So
True.
yeah, love this so much. So anyway, thank you. And I hope everyone got something out of this, and will have the information about how to connect with Joan and Tomas in the show notes. And we'll look forward to connecting with you down the road.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Kaylin.
Many blessings. Goodbye.
Aloha.